So the interesting political news of the day yesterday broke around dinner time. And everyone's heard about the Greenbelt story in the Ford government and the $8 billion worth of land that was freed up and that Premier Doug Ford says is needed to build homes, the 1.5 million homes that he promised by 2031. Now, the Auditor General looked at this, and the one name that came up more than anyone else was the Chief of Staff for Housing Minister Steve Clark. This is the picture. This is the only picture we know of Ryan Amato. But Ryan Amato is in the middle of this because the report claimed he basically was told by two developers, listen, open up 92% of the Greenbelt in this way, and we're all good. And that's what he did. Doug Ford parked it at his feet under the bus. Steve Clark, Housing Minister, under the bus. And when asked for weeks whether or not anyone was going to resign on this, Tam, we kept getting stonewalled by this government. Well, yesterday it happened. Ryan Amato, who apparently was the only one in the Ford government who knew an $8 billion land deal was going down in the Greenbelt, resigned immediately. I have a lot of thoughts when it finally happens, Tam. What was your initial thought on that, and what's the what next in the story?
Okay, I'll start with the what next. Just because I think that is what is on the minds of so many people right now. You're hearing it from opposition leaders as well, calling for the resignation of Housing Minister Steve Clark, saying that even if he was not aware at all, that in itself is a reason to be stepping down. If you're not aware of what is happening and how something as significant as removing all of this space from the Greenbelt itself is happening, and that you're leaving it to staff to do and to clean up on their own, that in itself is an issue. But there are a lot of calls out there saying that this is also a scapegoat issue. Ryan Amato is taking the heat so that everyone else can stay in office. I just don't know if the staying in office is going to happen, as a minister at least, for Steve Clark. These calls for him to resign have not quieted, and I don't think they're going to get any quieter.
For sure. And I just, you're going to have a full news update here in a second. My cynical mind, when I see this, it immediately goes to, well, what else is about to drop? Because it's not a hard and fast rule when you see resignations that there's some more news around the corner. But about 7 times out of 10 politically, that's how stories like this play out. And we're still waiting to hear from the OPP, who's investigating this in terms of the racketeering department, whether or not this was on the up and up. We know it was a little shady, according to the Auditor General. But I am firmly in the belief this is not the only domino. And the day you spoke to Minister Clark after the Auditor General's report came out, that was one of the most infuriating interviews I've ever seen on this show, and you did a great job with it, because there is a feeling of, what are you going to do about it? Here it is. We're not disputing that it was a really shady deal. What are you going to do about it? I hate that attitude. I can't stand that attitude. I know it's prevalent. I get it. We're human beings. But for that domino to drop, because Ryan knows some things, the Ford government would like to keep him close. Now he's kind of out of the loop. Who knows where he lands? That'll be a story in and of itself. But I wonder what's next. When someone they've been protecting for weeks, all of a sudden is gone. And we'll see. Because this was not a small story. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, and we'll get lots of reaction, I'm sure, throughout the day. We'll keep you up to date here this morning and throughout the day on citynews.ca as well.
No doubt. Forgive me. 7:02. We're a little late. You're watching BT.